At dawn on September 1st, 1939, the world still believed in agreements. Poland was quiet in those final moments before history broke. Farmers were already awake, unaware that the rhythm of their lives was about to be erased. Church bells stood silent. Children slept. Soldiers along the border adjusted their uniforms, tired but hopeful that the rumors of invasion were nothing more than pressure tactics. Diplomats in Europe still believed that war could be avoided at the last second, as it had been before. They were wrong. At precisely 4:45 a.m., German guns opened fire, not on enemy soldiers but on the Polish military depot at Westerplatte. It was not a declaration of war. It was not a negotiation. It was a statement. Within minutes, dive bombers screamed through the sky, tanks rolled across borders, and radios crackled with coded messages that had been prepared months earlier. Germany did not stumble into war. It walked in with confidence. The tactic was terrifyingly new, fast, relentless, coordinated. Planes destroyed communication lines before commanders could react. Tanks bypassed defenses instead of confronting them. Infantry followed like a closing fist. The world would later call it blitzkrieg, lightning war, but to those experiencing it, it felt like the end of time itself. Polish soldiers fought bravely. Cavalry units charged armored columns, not because they were foolish, but because they were desperate. They had trained for a war that no longer existed. Within days, cities burned, roads filled with refugees pushing carts piled with their lives. Mothers carried children who did not cry because hunger had already taken their voices. On September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany, but they did not move. This hesitation would haunt history. Germany turned east and west with ruthless efficiency. Poland collapsed within weeks, crushed between German forces from the west and Soviet forces from the east, acting under a secret agreement that shocked the world when it was later revealed. The country was erased from the map once again, not by accident, but by calculation. What followed was worse than occupation. It was erasure. Teachers disappeared. Officers vanished. Intellectuals were arrested. Entire villages were emptied. The war was no longer about territory. It was about control, about fear, about reshaping reality itself. The world watched in disbelief, still hoping this violence could be contained. It could not. In the spring of 1940, Germany turned its attention westward. Europe braced itself. The French army stood confident behind massive fortifications, convinced the horrors of the last war had taught them how to survive the next. Belgium and the Netherlands believed neutrality would protect them. They were wrong. German forces did not attack where expected. They moved through the Ardennes forest, a route considered impossible for tanks. Once again, speed became a weapon. France fell not because its soldiers lacked courage, but because the war had changed faster than anyone understood. Paris was occupied without a fight. The city of light dimmed under foreign boots. Cafes stayed open. Trains ran on time. And behind this eerie calm, Europe's moral center cracked. If France could fall so quickly, who was safe? Only Britain stood alone. Across the Channel, a new leader took power. Winston Churchill did not promise victory. He promised blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Britain prepared for invasion. Civilians slept in underground stations. Children were evacuated to the countryside. Fighter pilots rose each morning knowing they might not return by nightfall. The Battle of Britain was not fought for land. It was fought for the sky. Day after day, German bombers crossed the channel. Day after day, British pilots rose to meet them. Outnumbered, exhausted, but relentless. Radar stations guided fighters through clouds. Mechanics worked through the night to repair shattered aircraft. Civilians watched flames light the horizon and refused to surrender. Germany failed to break Britain. It was the first crack in the illusion of inevitability. Then in June 1941, Germany made its greatest gamble. It turned on its former ally and invaded the Soviet Union. The front stretched for thousands of miles. Millions of soldiers moved east. The invasion was massive, brutal, and driven by ideology as much as strategy. Villages were burned, civilians were slaughtered, prisoners were starved. The war in the East was not about conquest. It was about annihilation. And yet, the Soviet Union did not collapse. It bled, it retreated, it endured. Winter came. German soldiers, unprepared and overconfident, froze in fields far from home. Supply lines collapsed. The Red Army counterattacked. Cities like Leningrad were besieged until hunger killed more than bombs ever could. Stalingrad became a name that would echo through history, a place where an entire German army was surrounded and destroyed. For the first time, Germany was not advancing. It was dying. Meanwhile, across the ocean, the United States watched from a distance until December 7th, 1941. Japanese planes attacked Pearl Harbor without warning. Battleships burned. Sailors drowned in oil-filled waters. America entered the war not cautiously, but furiously. The war became global. From the deserts of North Africa to the jungles of the Pacific, men fought in conditions that defied human endurance. Soldiers landed on beaches knowing the first wave would die. Submarines hunted in darkness. Cities were bombed until maps no longer recognized them. And still, the war dragged on. In 1944, the Allies returned to Europe. On June 6th, under cover of darkness and deception, thousands of ships crossed the Channel. D-Day was chaos, courage, and terror compressed into hours. Soldiers drowned under the weight of their gear. Others ran into gunfire without stopping. Some never made it past the waterline, but they did not turn back. Slowly, painfully, Europe was liberated town by town. Germany retreated. Hitler hid deeper underground, refusing reality. His generals argued. His allies collapsed. Berlin burned. In April 1945, Soviet troops closed in on the German capital. The city became a graveyard. Children fought with rifles. Buildings collapsed into rubble. In a bunker beneath the ruins, Hitler ended his life, convinced betrayal, not failure, had destroyed him. Germany surrendered soon after. The war in Europe was over, but the world was not finished burning. In the Pacific, Japan fought on, despite overwhelming odds. Cities were firebombed. Civilians died in numbers that blurred into statistics. The war demanded an end, and the end came in a form the world had never seen. Atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In seconds, entire cities vanished. Shadows were burned into stone. Survivors walked through silence, unable to comprehend what had happened. The war ended not with celebration, but with horror. World War II claimed more than 60 million lives. It reshaped borders, governments, and morality itself. It proved how quickly civilization can collapse, how easily hatred can be weaponized, and how fragile peace truly is. The war did not begin with hatred alone. It began with humiliation ignored, with anger dismissed, with lessons unlearned. And long after the guns fell silent, the world would ask not how the war was won, but how it was allowed to happen at all.